what Africa needs at this time is no more activists. We need revolutionaries. And the real revolution is a people's revolution.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens with Traore's incidents is he happened to be in the midst of those who carry the guns.
Yes.
So he was able to flip that on the people and
Yes.
take power. Right.
Yes.
But in the place where the people are able to organize themselves, then you don't need the guns. I say this, if you have an idea and you understand the idea so much to the point that it keeps you awake every night, that is all you think about, that is all you want to do, then you're the best person to do that.
Exactly. You're born for that.
So you have to pursue, do what you have to.
Yeah.
Categorically is no, we cannot copy from the Western world. That is,
We shouldn't.
we can't, yes. But then again, we cannot go back to
To
who
how
we
we,
were.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, so that's why I said we have to redefine who the African is.
I believe now we live in a scientific world that everything is scientific. So even politics should be scientific.
Yeah, you should have a reason
So
for doing
if
something.
you want to be capitalist, you don't just have to be capitalist. Jumping to the next question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How youth activism, the youth getting involved in political activism in the liberation movement towards African liberation and eventually African unity.
Right. How important is youth activism? It's key. That's the catalyst to any real change. But you see, the thing is this. Anytime the people have to go onto the streets to demonstrate, right? Or so activism is people running campaigns about certain social issues to get them addressed, right? That's basically what activism is, right? Anytime you have activists or there's a need for activists, right, then you realize there's a fundamental flaw with the system. Because people are supposed to know what they are supposed to do.
Yes.
They don't have to wait till the people come out and tell them this is what we need you to do.
Yes.
Once that happens, they realize there's a certain systematic flaw.
Yeah, disconnect.
And that exactly. So the presence of activists is testament to a flawed system, a system that is not working. But activists cannot get the system to change, because by definition of what activism is, it's campaign based. So they look at certain specific issues based on issues, right? That's what activists do. But activists can draw attention to certain issues and call, at best, they can call for reform. That's the best activists could do. But in that space is where revolutionaries are needed desperately. Because revolutionaries actually come in there and change the system.
Yeah.
Right? So activists will identify what the problem is and start making some noise or agitating to get that issue addressed. But because of the nature of the political system we're running, they cannot get that system addressed or that problem addressed. That is why revolutionaries will have to step into the mix now and cause that change, right? So what Africa needs at this time is no more activists. We need revolutionaries. Because for a very long time, we've identified all of our problems.
We know them.
We
too
know them
well.
through and through.
We know them.
We've theorized them.
Yes.
We've written books on them. We've demonstrated. We've protested. We've advocated. We've done all of these things.
What we lack is the action.
Is the real change, and that is the duty of revolutionaries. You see, so at this time, this present moment, what Africa needs is revolutionaries, people who can cause that change. And Traore has pointed the way as to where we have to go. Right? He is actually in the midst of a revolution that they've been complaining, they've been advocating, they've been petitioning all this while, but nothing happens.
And
right?
by that,
Yeah.
we are not supposing that revolution is only military.
Not necessarily, no.
There is intellectual, social revolution.
So the real revolution is a people's revolution.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens with Traore's incidents is he happened to be in the midst of those who carry the guns. So he was able to flip that on the people and it takes power. Right.
Yes.
But in the place where the people are able to organize themselves, then you don't need the guns. But this is the thing. So it's not an either or. It's based on circumstances. Because sometimes when the people rise up to do what we call a people's uprising or a people's revolution, the security services, particularly the army and the police, who have the arms, are sometimes turned against the people or turned on the people.
Yes,
Right?
especially when it's a coup d'etat.
Especially when it's a coup d'etat, yes. Now, when the people don't have any way of fighting back, then it becomes a massacre, right? But where you find the people rising up to meet that force, then it develops into a civil war, right? You see? So a people's revolution is effective. It's the most desired, right? But under the current circumstances, we have to understand that these people will not just relinquish power on the platter. They would almost always guaranteed turn the guns on the people, you see. And when the people are not armed, then it becomes a massacre.
Yeah.
And that's a spot we're finding ourselves in right now. But if we're able to organize the masses of the people, and the people come out in unison, then it becomes very difficult to even raise the gun against them. A case in point would be Sri Lanka. So 2 years ago, the people of Sri Lanka organized themselves, and about 2 million people came onto the streets. Yeah. They were able to chase out an entire government administration without a single bullet being fired. That's the power of organization.
Yes,
You see.
and I think Tunisia, Arab Spring.
Arab Spring, yes,
Yeah,
same
it
thing.
happened.
So when the people rise up in unison,
Yes.
yes, they're able to defeat any show of force or arms.
That's
But then
revolution.
that's revolution. That's a
Yeah.
people's revolution.
Yes.
But in the case of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger,
Yeah.
they didn't have time to organize the people. So it was just a few people who had access to the weapons who says, you know what, we're taking back what is ours.
And strategically, we would say that that would be the easiest way to seize power. Going to conscientize the people for a popular revolution would
takes
take
time.
long.
It takes time.
Yes.
But we have an advantage today with social media. So
Yeah.
someone can put up a post online, and within 24 hours, 48 hours, they can get millions of views. You
Exactly.
see, what we've not been able to figure out is how to translate or transform all those views into active membership.
Yes.
That's how we can begin to organize the people.
Yes.
That's what we've not been able to figure out. But then it's not impossible.
Yeah.
We are just yet to figure out how to do that. Yes, but it's possible.
And coming to that, Karl Marx, Marxist, right?
Right.
He postulated that that every civilization that conquers another, hegemonic civilizations,
Right.
from the Roman Empire, when they attack another society to take over, make them a colony, they come with their own weakness. That if the people realize such weaknesses and capitalize on it, it could overturn the power of the
Invaders or-
yes.
right, right,
So,
conquerors,
in my observation, right, there are two weaknesses that comes with the Western hegemony we live under right now: the English language and the internet.
Okay.
First, their language was exclusive when they came, right?
Right.
Dealing with our people would need a third party. And that third party is always one-sided. He's sided with the foreigner.
Right.
And it is the foreigner that provides the interpreter. And the interpreter does a good job for the foreigner.
Right.
Now, any dealings can be direct.
Mm.
And we have alternative languages we have. Now, we know, for example, our former colonial masters, England, right?
Right.
They push their language on us. Now we know them. If we are to learn, we may be able to learn their secrets by virtue of following
The
or
language.
looking through their books.
Right.
And we may have an alternative again by having different languages that we can communicate there with and understand,
Right.
right? We should be able to capitalize on
On that. Yeah.
India and Asia, some part of Asia, I wouldn't say China, have been able, Singapore and others have been able to syncretize that, make that work for them. And the internet, it is something that is becoming a bane for them. They can't censor it or monitor it or gag it as they would in person.
Right.
So it becomes a revolutionary weapon
Right.
to know the enemy's language and be able to
To use it,
communicate without his control of that language.
That makes
Wouldn't
sense.
you agree?
No, makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that there. So I say yeah, it's a blessing and a curse as well.
Yeah.
English language has been able to unify the entire world,
Yes.
right, very quickly. So I can speak with a brother from Kenya
Yes.
in English.
Yes.
Otherwise, it would have been quite difficult to communicate
Exactly.
with them. Yeah. So that gives us, yeah,
Exactly.
it gives us an advantage. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. But then again, comes down to leadership. You see, leadership here becomes a problem because all of these things that are identified as advantages would only make sense if they are coordinated into one elaborate strategic plan. You see, otherwise it will just be random opportunities. But then, if we're able to bring them into a concerted effort, that is when we can see real change, and that is when leadership is needed. Yeah. So, all of these things will not happen or will not materialize until we can provide leadership.
Yeah.
But the problem here is I realize people are running away from responsibility. Everyone is looking to other people to do what must be done. So everyone is taking a step back and expecting someone to step up to do this work. But then I say this, if you have an idea and you understand the idea so much to the point that it keeps you awake every night, that is all you think about, that is all you want to do,
Yeah.
then you're the best person to do that.
Exactly.
You see?
You're born for that.
So you have to pursue
Yeah.
it, do
Yeah.
what you have to.
Yeah.
So this is to say, us who have been coming on shows like this, starting initiatives like this, are supposed to step up to the plate, take on the responsibility of leadership. Because we can, it's one thing to talk about stuff, put all the information out there, but if there's no implementation of all the knowledge that we are circulating, then it's practically useless.
Yes.
So it's basically to say, show working for what you're talking about. If you
Yes.
think you know how to do what you have to do, or
Yeah.
you know what must be done,
Prove it.
prove it. I mean, yes, that's only one way.
If you say what you say you are, you gotta
You gotta
let
show
us
it.
see.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that's where we've gotten to this time.
Alright.
It's up to us to now step up and take on the responsibility to do what must be done.
All right.
You know, we've talked enough. Now let's do it.
All right.
And this is where leadership is calling, and we must answer that call.
All right.
You know.
So, brother,
Yes.
we've seen the unity of Africa, unification of the continent, and its diaspora, its children and family outside the continent
Right.
is burgeoning this generation. With the advent of the social media, it seems the unity of Africa, real unity, not any organization pursuing the unity in the guise that they are united, but they are not.
Right.
We need real unity, unity between the people, not political unity. We need
Right.
people unity. That I need to feel free to move to any part of the continent,
Yeah.
like China did, like USA did. It's possible,
Mm.
and that's the only convenient security for our future. It's been scripted
Yes.
by great men. Our own Osajifo have shown us the Bible, how the blueprint,
Yeah.
how it is convenient and the only way to become a superpower. Because the superpower will shift, as we've seen through history. America won't be superpower forever. So when it shifts, is Africa ready? It'll just pass and go to any other group of people. But Africa should be superpower. They know that a long time ago. See, so can the unity of Africa happen? Is it possible?
Yes, yes, it is. We are actually living in that process, in that time, right? So, Traore, for instance, has been a unifier of the entire African struggle.
Continent, yeah.
You know, even those outside the continent are actually right behind him, supporting him.
Yeah.
So he's showing that it's more possible. It's more than possible.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, it comes down to leadership. So, like you mentioned, in China, in America, uniting all the states to become one super nation, all of that took leadership, and that's the reason why any African leader that starts going in that regard, they seek to eliminate the person. So Nkrumah, of course, was a champion of such unification at the continental level. They removed him. Gaddafi was another stand,
Yes.
yes, promoter
Yeah.
of that. They had to remove him, yes. those who are left right now are as useless as they come. So then they
Yes.
leave them to do what they have to,
Yeah.
just to keep the house for master. But yeah, leadership here understands we cannot exist as individual states. We are not economically viable.
Yes.
Military-wise, we are not strong enough to defend even our small, units called
Yeah.
states. Yeah, so
Maybe,
then
but then
the
they
answer
coerce
the
the
real
people.
or persuade them with
Solutions
some
are
monetary
probably will
gift.
be-
Sometimes 50
CDs.
continental-wide action. That's union of the whole continent.
Yes.
And the reason for that would be, yes, we may be different people, different cultures, ethnicities, and all of that.
Say maybe
But we have a
2000.
single enemy,
Exactly.
and we cannot fight that enemy
Divided.
individually or
Divided.
divided. It does not
They
make sense.
treated all of us as
as
one,
one
people.
So
They
we're,
hated all of us equally.
so we are united in our suffering, and we can only break that suffering when we unite again to solve it. You see, that's
Yes.
what we've not understood. But then again, it's a revolutionary beauty to observe the people on the ground, right? The only ones who really observe or uphold the barriers that were drawn at the Berlin Conference, that's the so-called borders,
Yes.
are the political elite. The people do not recognize those borders.
Yes.
So, for instance, in Ghana, you have people living in Ghana, but then they have family across the border in Togo, Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. And most of those border towns happen to be agricultural. So you find that some people have their farms over across the border in the next town. And it's even more absurd that usually what we call borders are two pillars flanking a gate. And that is supposed to be a border. That is supposed to be enough to separate one people. It doesn't make sense, right?
And that served the purpose for the colonizer.
Yeah.
In the sense that his neighboring country in Europe is also looking for resources and people. So he has to
Demarcate and then lock off his side and
demarcate his
say-
portion so it doesn't bring war. So when he's going, he knows he's going to English territory
You have to
or French
seek
territory.
permission to enter there. And that's
Exactly.
where the issue with visas and
Yeah.
all of that nonsense
Yes.
comes from. Yeah.
Yes.
But I've said unity to the African is instinctive, right? Because the African has always been a communal animal.
Exactly.
Right? Well, and yeah, so
Communalism.
so if you look at the family unit, the European family module is man or father, mother, child, the nuclear system.
Yes.
And that's what they focus on.
Individualistic.
Yes, but in the African setting, the family is not just father, mother, child.
No,
No,
it got
includes extended, and not just extended.
Yes.
It runs matrilineal and patrilineal. So it's a
Patrilineal.
long
Yes.
chain of people. You see,
They call it in the Swahili language Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. Yes,
Yes.
because you are so.
Yes.
The African concept of family is pluralistic. It's
Yes.
communal.
Yes.
Right? So unity to the African is, like I said, instinctive.
Yes.
It's something that comes naturally.
Commonplace.
Yeah. So it's only under this oppression and again lack of leadership that we see this individualistic mindset of the African, where there's greed. And greed comes out from a mindset of lack. So that is also instinctive to the Western man, because the Western man, in observing his surroundings and his climate, realized he did not have enough.
Exactly.
So there was lack.
Yes.
Right? And that's why he had to go out to seek other things from other people in other places.
Yes.
But the African has always had abundance.
Abundance.
Everywhere you look, there's so much.
And even the weather is abundance.
It's abundance, yes. So the African actually doesn't come from that poverty mindset where it's built on lack, and then lack breeds greed. So because you think there's not enough to go around, you have to hoard everything to yourself.
Yeah.
The African doesn't have that. There's abundance, so he likes to share.
Yes.
That's what we are welcoming.
Yes.
It's interesting with the language, just to chip this in. When someone is friendly, someone is nice, we say the person is warm. When someone is wicked, someone is evil, we say the person is cold.
We know.
So if you look at the temperature of
Yeah.
our regions,
Yeah.
it's clear to see where the mindsets are even
Yes.
developed from.
Yes.
So Africans are said to be warm people because
Yes.
we're friendly, we're
Yes.
nice, because of course we have
We've
one
never
climate.
been desperate before they met us.
Never.
We could never have been described as a desperate people.
Or as wicked or evil and all of that. No. We were never
Yes.
greedy, selfish people. So these things we see among our people right now are effects of long trauma. you
Yes.
see. That's what has been done to us.
Yes.
But then again, yes, so leadership can get these things reset. Leadership can help us get back on track. Yeah, but until we have leadership, it will just be long talks, same old, and then we'll still be where we are, Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, it works like that. We need leadership. It's
Yes.
it's non-negotiable at this
It's
point.
prerequisite.
Yeah.
See, we
for
need it.
freedom. So no, African unity is within our grasp. We're seeing it. We're looking at it right in front of us. And I say on the lighter note, right? I say I want to marry 54 women, a woman from each nation state,
In Africa.
and then have at least one kid with all of them. So when I call for a family meeting at home, it's actually an AU meeting.
Yes.
It's all of Africa represented in there. I mean, yeah, so but on the lighter note, yeah, having 54 wives, that would be quite a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, unity within our time is more than possible. We are actually living in it. It's within grasp. Yeah.
With unity, how we need an action plan. How we are going to the system we're going to pursue.
Right.
Is it going to be like how we are seeing us copying blindly or haphazardly European tendencies, which we don't practice well here? You see,
Right.
so we need to go back and choose our own cultural system to
Yes.
pursue,
Yes.
or redefine ourselves. Now we can't be the old African anymore. So
No.
Osajifo postulated that there would come a time where there will be a new African.
Yes.
And you and I, we are new Africans.
Yes.
We are not the stale African. We are new Africans.
Right.
And it is turning up like that. That's that phenomenon and group of youth coming up. Would we need a system copied from the European, or we need to go back to our old self and know the best from us, syncretize it with modernity, and
So I have a very unpopular stance on that. Categorically is no, we cannot copy from the Western world. That is,
we shouldn't.
we can't. Yes. But then again, we cannot go back to who
How
we
we,
were.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. So that's why I said we have to redefine who the African is, or we have to
Who we
redefine
want the new African
African to be.
Yeah.
That is what we have to do right
Yeah.
now. So yes, we can take lessons from the past.
Yeah.
Right. But then the lessons from the past will be only to point to what we need not become.
Yeah. The best. Only the
But-
best.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we cannot take a cue from the past as to who we have to be. It's impossible to look back to look forward, right? Looking back would only teach us what not to repeat, what not to do again.
Yes.
But going to the future, we have to reimagine the future,
Yeah.
create it from a new circumstance, you see? Yes, and then that's how we can be able to go forward. And this is easy to do. Organization helps us do this easily, right? So what we have to do is give the power back to the people. When the people engage in conversation amongst themselves, these things will develop by themselves. So Gaddafi showed us the way in one of his last books he wrote, the Green Book,
Yeah.
where he talks about people's assemblies, in the community. So when we organize people within their communities into assemblies, right, or spaces where people can have conversations as to what we think we want as a collective, you see, and this is going to vary from community to community. A community, say in Tamale, would want very different things from a community here in Accra, you see. But it's the people in there who understand and know best what they need. So give the people the opportunity to organize and decide for them what we need in our communities. That could be sent to a central authority that would then make sure it facilitates they getting what they have to get. But then that's how you can build all inclusiveness, and that's how we can reimagine who the African is going
And
to be.
that's highly scientific, socialistic.
Yes, this is scientific socialism. Yes.
And I believe now we live in a scientific world,
Right.
that everything is scientific. So even politics should be scientific.
yeah, you should have a reason
So
for doing something.
if you want to
yeah.
be capitalist, you
Previous
don't
governor.
just have to be capitalist. You can be scientific capitalist,
Mhm.
where it would turn out to be a type of capitalism that is different from the dependent capitalism we know from
From the West,
America
right.
and the West.
Right.
See, if you want to be a socialist, you can be a scientific socialist to blend the positive or what is good to make socialism, because there's a lot of criticism against socialism.
Yeah.
The West frown on socialism.
No, of course, the West will definitely have to front on
But in
socialism
my
because-
opinion, that is the best political system.
yes,
But they would make us think capitalism or democracy
is the best
political
module. Yeah, no, and of course, that is the lion will always make you believe meat is best
Yes.
for it because that's what
Yeah.
the lion demands.
Yes.
The herbivores, the sheep or the cow, would make you think
Plant.
grass is actually the best. Yes.
Yes.
So you see, to each his own. But then this is my thing. The only problem with capitalism as a module,
Yeah.
right, is that those who provide the labor are not necessarily the ones who benefit from the labor. That is the
Yes.
only evil
Yes.
with capitalism.
Yes.
But I have said this: nobody goes into any commercial enterprise expecting to not make profit.
Yes.
It does not make sense,
Yeah.
right? But the only issue here is that he who is contributing
The
his
most.
labor
Yeah.
must benefit from his labor.
Yes.
Right. It shouldn't go to certain people who have actually not labored.
Yes.
That is the problem. So exploitation of labor is a must in any productive enterprise.
Yeah.
But then the benefits of that labor that has been contributed has to be enjoyed by the people who contributed the labor.
Yeah.
And that's where socialism comes in. So socialism says all of us are contributing towards producing something, right? Scientific socialism says we give each according to his needs, right? But then we all contribute according to our ability. So if I can contribute 10 points, right? Whatever the measure or unit would be, let's just say 10
Yeah.
of those, yes. But then I consume 4. Someone else might be able to consume 8, but then he may be able to produce 3. It does not mean I get more than he gets or he gets more than I do or less.
Yes.
But the thing is, based on what
Each
the person's
needs.
need is, the person gets that. You
Yes.
see? And that's how we can have not an equal society, but an equitable society.
Society, yes.
And that's what we need to look at building.
Yes.
So I don't like to use the tags, socialism, capitalism. It creates unnecessary argument. My thing is this. There's nobody who can argue against any individual having access to quality education. You can't argue with that. You cannot argue against people having access to quality healthcare. It's not arguable. You cannot argue against people having decent accommodation. This is a given, you see. But the moment I wrap them up in certain tags, then it becomes an argument, you see. So someone will argue against socialism, someone will argue against capitalism, someone will argue against communism and all of those. But if we sit down and say, hey, do we all need access to education? The answer will be a unanimous yes.
Yes.
You see, do we need access to quality healthcare? It will be a unanimous yes.
Yes.
So I like to go down to the substance of the issues rather than dwell on those tags. You see, because the tags bring division, they bring argument, and all of those. Yes. So the way forward for Africa would be for, like I said, the communities who are best to identify what they need most, to be the ones to have their conversation and say, what do we want? How do we get this? And then those suggestions or those requests could be sent to a central authority that can then facilitate the implementation of whatever has been agreed at the grassroots or the community level. And that would be a new module that would bring us together in nation building. We can unite in our cause to build a new Africa. That would be the way forward.
That's a good idea. So, what would be your last words to our brothers and sisters out there?
Right. So then my message would be to the youth of Ghana again. There's a rally call right now going across the continent led by Ibrahim Traore, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Yeah. He has pointed the way forward and he has shown us that it is possible for Africa to become free, that Africans can do for ourselves what must be done. Now, there's a wave of excitement that's going around, everyone trying to throw their support behind Ibrahim Traore. So it's not just about hitting the streets and saying, yes, we march with you. But then the thing is, we identify with what he's trying to do and we believe in the cause for which he's standing. We're saying each and every one has to get involved in this. Right? So here in Ghana, on the 25th of May, we're having a solidarity walk, yes. The details will be communicated as and when. But then this is a clarion call to all the youth of Ghana to be part of this historic march, right? It is not just showing up on the streets, but we're sending a very positive message out to the West that we're not going to sit and watch as they attack one of ours who's trying to do what is in the best interest of our people. That we are ready to stand and defend anyone who does what is in the best interest of our people. We will not sit back and watch, like Bob Marley asked, how long will we sit and watch they kill our prophets? No, not this time around. So we're calling out to all the African youth out there. On the 25th of May, make sure to come out, join us on our walk. Let us show the whole world that yes, we stand with our brother, and that anyone who tries to put their hands on him is actually going to touch all of Africa. Right, so see you on the 25th of May. But of course, stay tuned to our podcast. This is going to be coming your way almost every week, I think. Yes. We're going to keep sharing knowledge. But then get involved directly. Identify a cell close to you. Get part, get involved. Let's study, let's work, let's organize, and victory is assured. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Niai, for
Anytime.
righteous words.
Anytime.
And thanks for gracing the set.
Yes, anytime. Anytime.
And my brother and sister, I would say this has been the Warrior Kings podcast. And I would say again, this right here is the best patriotic podcast in the world. Akin to the jungle, where the herbivores or plant eaters would come to eat first before the carnivores or the blood eaters. And when the blood eaters come in, it's bloody. Here, we eat ignorance for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The only war we got with anybody is ignorance. We share knowledge here. Follow, watch, subscribe, like, comment, be part of the movement. Thanks for watching. We're out of here.
Yes.